So, Ethan, we're left to deal with, recruiting, which like that is the main topic. It's the main point of focus, and we're going to have a continued discussions about a lot of the same things in recruiting. And so, the big news: Xavier Griffin decommits. So USC loses a prime recruit. But we talked about this last week, and we're going to talk about it in the future too. Like this is not going away. That retaining everyone, not going to happen. Like we should all be ready for that. We should expect that. We should have that in our minds. It's not really about 100% retention. It's, I guess, one question for you, as I ask you about Xavier Griffin specifically. The bigger background question is, what is a good retention rate? What is a good retention percentage? But first talk about Xavier Griffin, and then you can perhaps talk about that bigger topic of retention percentage at USC.
Sounds good, Matt. Well, it's obviously a bummer whenever you lose somebody like Xavier Griffin, right? I mean, he's one of the top defensive players in the 2026 class and one of the headliners for USC, obviously, in the class. And so it's a bummer for them to lose somebody like that. One positive news story that kind of came out of this was, a lot of top national media outlets were reporting that this kind of all came about because USC has a policy against committed prospects taking official visits to other campuses. And it was because he had those official visits scheduled with places like Alabama, Florida State, Georgia, and Texas that, USC kind of said, we're not cool with that. And so he had to decommit if he wanted to explore those options. So, I mean, I think that's kind of, a positive thing to take from this. I don't, if you're a program like USC, you don't want your players like with a kind of half in, half out, 1 foot in the door, 1 foot out the door. You want them to be 100% in all the time. And I think that, we kind of have talked about several times how Chad Bowden has really emphasized in his media appearances, like building a wall around Southern California and also recruiting people who want to be Trojans. And I think that this is kind of another indication of that USC is kind of doubling down on, we want people who want to be here, which is hard to find in today's college football landscape with all the NIL, with all the, free transfer portal, free market kind of craziness that always goes on. But so I think that's kind of positive. I think that it's a sign that USC is, if USC was in a worse place with commitments, maybe they don't stick as hard to this rule and they kind of, try to keep him happy and abate some of his worries and be like, yeah, we want you here, but we can't stop you from going and exploring those other options. But, it seems USC believes in some of their other talent and they are allowing themselves to be a little bit picky and allowing themselves to set some rules like this, where you have to be if you're going to commit here, you have to be here. You have to be fully bought in, and we don't want anybody who's not fully bought in. So hopefully that kind of mindset kind of pays off for them for sure.